Leo Taxel. Who is this Don Purcell guy? What was the source of his wealth? Why did Hubbard know him? And why was this guy willing to bail him out? I don't know a whole lot about Don Purcell, just what I've read about him, which is that he was a self-made millionaire in the Wichita, Kansas area. I believe he made his money through oil. He had a company called Omega Oil Company or something like that. And he was very interested. He had a real thing for self-improvement, self-help groups, and trying to make a better person, trying to make the world a better place by making people better. And so he somehow heard about Dianetics, I have no idea how, and loved it. He loved the idea of it. He thought that this was definitely the next big thing. And I think somehow he reached out to Hubbard and connected up with him and offered to go into business with him and set up the Dianetics Foundation in Wichita, Kansas, after the LA and New Jersey organizations had tanked and Hubbard had driven them into bankruptcy through bad management and basically through ripping off their funds and also excessive hiring and this. I mean, Hubbard did not know what he was doing as an administrator. So Purcell heard whatever sob story Hubbard had to tell, but was so enthralled by the concept of Dianetics that he went, okay, I'll back you. And Purcell was the president, and Hubbard was the vice president of this Dianetics Foundation, as I understand it, in Wichita. And he had a building, and Purcell was basically a big investor. And Hubbard took him for a ride, right? Because that's what Hubbard does. And he took advantage of him. And then when it wasn't really going, Hubbard blamed Purcell, started complaining to Dianeticists and people in the Wichita area and to anybody who would listen that Purcell was a cheat and a liar and was himself, he was the con man. He was the guy who was trying to rip off Dianetics from L. Ron Hubbard. And really that was not the case at all. Purcell totally bailed out Hubbard, totally gave him a second shot at doing something with this Dianetics. But I mean, let's face it, Dianetics doesn't work. So, Purcell was just bought into the pseudoscience of it, and he happened to be a guy who had a lot of money. Hubbard went, great, I'll take your money. And then when he was done and Purcell saw that this wasn't what, it was all cracked up to be, Hubbard took off. But Hubbard had a problem because he had signed over the copyrights and the rights to Dianetics and all the materials of it to Purcell, and Purcell was the president of this group. So when Hubbard took off, he tried to invalidate and denigrate Purcell and everything Purcell was about, and he took off to Phoenix, Arizona, and he started up with Church Scientology. That falling out happened in 1953. Purcell then went on to something called Synergistics or some other self-help thing, and he was going to offer that and work with that group, and he was going to do it for free. They were going to offer the Synergistics thing for free, and it wasn't going to be a for-profit sort of operation like Dianetics had been. Purcell held on to the copyrights, and Hubbard was giving him crap about it, and then sometime in mid-1954, Purcell reached out to Hubbard and said, look, I'll just give it all back to you and you just take it off my hands. And I think because Hubbard probably left Purcell saddled with all the debt, and Purcell had to deal with all that. And so then he just said, okay, screw it. And he gave the Dianetics copyrights back to Hubbard, which is how in late 1954, 1955, Hubbard was able to use the word Dianetics again and wrote Dianetics 55, which was supposed to be, an updated book on the status of Dianetics now, but really Hubbard was full tilt boogie on Scientology at that point, so Dianetics was not really a big thing for him at that moment. He circled back around to it later and, kind of tried to incorporate Dianetics into Scientology and using the e-meter and using other techniques and stuff. So that's sort of the story with Purcell, and I don't really know what happened to him after that, but that's his place in the Scientology history.